argue that it hurts the game more if they had given her a roster spot over someone more deserving.
So go ahead and argue it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because I think it makes a mockery of the women's game. If the focus on, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their intention, and they're not as talented, we're not putting the best team out there.
What did you just say?
They're not as talented.
Say it again to my face.
And they're not as talented.
Come again?
And they're not as talented.
Several months later.
Now it's crickets.
No one denied the fact that she's a star and she couldn't play. It was just that it takes.
Y'all were denying it, Molly. Don't do that.
And
don't do that, Molly.
Shannon, what are you saying? People didn't think that Caitlin Clark was talented?
I know that ain't who I think it is.
If you're not a big fan of one Caitlin Clark the past couple of games, they've been really, really rough on you. As Clark every single night puts up 25 to 30 points, 10 to 12 dimes, and most importantly, her team is winning.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Now, the unfortunate thing for Clark when it comes to the media, people like Molly Cam on First Take, they move the goalpost every single day. And like you saw in that intro, months ago Molly Cam said Clark was, quote, not as talented, and her being on Team USA was a mockery of the sport. Now, Molly Cam right there, she was confident, she had conviction, she was really dead set against Clark being on Team USA. Now, fast forward a month and a half, Molly Cam moves the goalpost per usual, as now all of a sudden, nobody doubted Clark, her talent, her skill, her overall ability, when Molly Cam a month prior was doing just that. For a lot of these female analysts, for one reason or another, they want Caitlin Clark to fail at every single turn. As even looking at her college days, Molly Cam back then was saying something like Paige Bueckers, if she was healthy, would diminish Clark and her overall stardom.
If Paige Bueckers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are now. And that's facts,
and
Stephen
to
A.
that, The Rock says, know your role and shut your...
Now, looking back at Molly's USA comments, saying Clark at the time wasn't as talented, as skilled, even then, was a false statement, as Clark, pre the selection, played 23 games, 17 points, 8 assists, 6 boards, nearly 2 steals, on great shooting. At that point, Clark in the entire league was first in assists, top 15 in scoring, top 5 in threes made, and the best player on her team. And despite that, was passed over for really political reasons that had nothing to do with basketball. As looking at their roster, someone like Chelsea Gray, who's a decent player, was put on the roster in place of Clark. And prior to selection, she had only played 9 total games. And in those games, I wouldn't say was lighting it up, averaging 8 points per game, 5 assists, 3 boards, on decent shooting. So Chelsea Gray, who's 32 years old, injury prone, coming off injury, was put on the roster ahead of Clark. Kinda suspect. Then someone like Taurasi, who's 75 years old, who's played in like 12 Olympics, for some reason, had to be on this team. And her numbers pre-selection compared to Clark, again, Caitlin, better across the board. Clark being left off the team 100% was the